Glenn Keogh, welcome to the first ever Actors Room. This is our first series.
Absolute pleasure. It's an honour. It's an honour. Could be your last one as well.
Okay, so anybody who doesn't know you, maybe just tell them a little bit about you and what you've been doing.
Yeah, well, originally from Blackrock here in Dublin. Started off actually from when I left school. Went on to trying to be an accountant. I didn't know what I wanted to do with myself. I was good at maths. Went to Dunleary Senior College for a couple of years. Went to Griffith College for 4 years at night. Worked in an accounting firm. Qualified at about 24. But I'd started selling financial software when I was 22. And qualified and was kind of involved in the sales side of it, selling software to accountants all over the country. I was a sales rep on the road here and in the UK. And like most paddies do, applied for a visa for Australia, got a 1 year visa, went down there, mid-20, I was about 26 at the time, and was a couple of years down there working for Microsoft, selling high-end software, and, was a little bit bored with it all and kind of needed an outlet, and was playing football, snapped ligaments in my knee, probably for the third time. Physio said, you need another hobby to keep yourself out of trouble. And at that stage, acting was something I always wanted to try, or had an inkling or an interest in it, and did a bit of research. There was a couple of schools in Brisbane, Australia, where I was living at the time, and went in and auditioned for a school called the Actors Workshop to do an advanced TV and stage diploma, and went in, auditioned, got a role, or got a place in the course, and kind of started from there, and I went to college for 3 or 4 years at night while I worked full time on the QT. No one worked knew that I was training to be an actor.
Okay.
And
how old were you then at that stage?
I was 28 when I started, so I'm 13 years in it now, and I think that brought a bit of maturity, and I enjoyed doing it. I loved going into class in the evenings and at the weekends, and kind of grew from there. Started to do short films, a bit of theatre, booked a couple of commercials, and it was going well, and I was falling in love with it. Once you get in, you can't get out of it. And then started to wean away from Australia to say, well, how do I get into America? That's where all the work is. There's not a lot of work for Irish actors in Australia. It tends to go to the Aussies, so, and there's not a great deal of TV over there. So where there's a will, there's a way. I applied for a green card in the lottery, won the lottery for America. I'd just become an Australian citizen, got a passport, left there, went to America, and I'm out there 9 years, and kind of made a decision that I'd give it a farewelly full time when I moved to America, and crack into it. And I was lucky to land some gigs early days out there, and then you have your dry spells, but at least I've stuff on the resume which has got me in the door for more stuff. So it's been great of late, I've booked some decent gigs, but the 9 years have just gone like that.
Really quick, of course they have.
I feel like I'm out there 2 years, but I'm enjoying it. So I think I mentioned to you earlier, I still work. I'm involved in a business called the Lucy Fund, which is a technology company here based out of Dublin that invests in startups. And I've done very well in Ireland, owned by a pal of mine in Lucy. So we've opened operation in LA, and that keeps me grounded as well. And so any acting gigs I get, I really appreciate to step outside of the tech world, and we kind of marry the two of them as well, because technology and entertainment go hand in hand, in many ways.
You've actually touched on there's a few things in that I definitely want to go back and ask you about.
Sorry for the rant.
No, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. I suppose initially, so you were late starting acting, 28 really.
Yeah.
So it wasn't something were you thinking about it when you were younger?
But I don't think there was, I don't want to say there wasn't the opportunity to do it, but it wasn't in my face. Like any of the schools I went to, out in Dunleary, and the opportunity wasn't there, I guess. And I played football like most Dublin young lads, but enjoyed movies and went to a little bit of theatre, and it was always something I would have loved to have tried, you know. So even when I started out, if it had just led to some local theatre, could have been fine with that. But the fact I joined a college kind of got me in a regimented kind of disciplined arena where I learned the proper art of acting, And, it's not that I had a burning desire in me from a young age.
Right.
I didn't have any friends in the arts, no family members that were kind of brought up in the arts. It was just something later, and like I said, probably with a bit of maturity. I think when you you get, and I've friends that would love to do it now and even say to me, with a few beers on board, they won't admit it in front of the rest of the lads, but
of course,
they'd love to give it a go. And I said, well, give it a go, because with a bit of maturity, when you choose something that you want to do, you enjoy it more, and it's an escape from the daily grind of work or family or whatever it is. And I enjoyed it, and I've just enjoyed it more and more every day.
It's very inspirational, I suppose, for people listening that perhaps maybe either like that, they're kind of coming in late, or perhaps maybe they feel like they haven't got the training, or they have to go to like a full-time college and they don't have the time or the money to do that. You kind of did it part-time then. You were like...
Yeah. So I was working full-time, and then, it was 3 evenings a week, and then it was weekends, and, it was tough in a sense, but... I mean, as I say, if you're passionate about something, you never work another day of your life, So for me, I never found it difficult. It was, I guess it was tiring in a sense. But yeah, just to touch on your point there, anyone that wants to start, regardless of the age, I mean, I work with actors out in LA, as there's plenty here in Ireland that are in their 50s, 60s, 70s that are still as passionate about it as I am, And then starting later in life, it brings a maturity. So, as actors, we're just telling stories, and you can pull on relationships or friendships that you have in your life that, you can mimic people and bring great characters to life. I've stolen plenty of characters from mates of mine, that are great crack,
That's brilliant. I suppose that kind of leads me into, like, what type of actor are you? Are you, like, where do you build your character from, or how do you attack, say, in your character?
Yeah, well, I guess the type of work I've booked from my time in Australia, you have a type, and particularly in America. And when I got to America, I was typecast as a gangster, and that's having that big dirty Dublin mug of me. It's kind of. It's actually funny, running joke in the family. My mammy always asks me, why don't you play any nice romantic roles, and kiss a nice girl. I said, well, this is the face you gave me, man. So there's nothing I can do about it, So, I was kind of typecast as, and that's a good thing as well. And I kind of, not that I fought that, but I booked a few gigs out in America, and, I was on Criminal Minds and I killed a guy, and then Sons of Anarchy, I killed a guy, and then I got killed. And typically that was it. I was being brought in as a co-star, a guest star, to kill people and then get killed. Yeah. And was hoping, I'd love to do something else. I'd love to do some comedy, but there's so much competition out there that when you get a type and you're booking work, you run with it, and it's I think then as you get older, it kind of changes. And the same for me, it went from being the gangster that carry out the hits and, the rough guy, to being the boss, the criminal boss who's ordering the hit,
Right, okay.
Which is great. So I'd class myself as a character actor, I guess, because I've been lucky enough to book other stuff outside of that, from, playing a monk in a monastery on Days of Our Lives to a magician janitor, in a kids' Nickelodeon show. I did that, and it's kind of changed the bartender type roles to, Once Upon a Time recently, the King of Scotland, Meredith's dad. So I've been lucky, and I think with age and then building a resume and then building a relationship with casting directors and producers, whatever, your roles kind of step outside them. But you've got to, if I could give any actors any advice, would be just be comfortable with who you are and go after that. There's lots of competition, but there's only one of you. So own that and go out there and book some gigs. People, I think actors get tied up in, well, I'm not booking a gig, I have to grow my hair out longer or change the colour or whatever. I don't really go with that. It's I think you just have to put the time in, work on the craft, and then kind of be comfortable with who you are and kind of get after it, regardless of your body type, size or whatever. There's roles out there, particularly as you get older, there's more roles out there,
Yeah, so just stick with it, and then also to know your type, so don't fight against it.
Yeah, no, don't try to be a type, just be yourself and bring that type to the market, you know.
And you touched on, I suppose the big thing for people is, we were only talking about it quite recently, is moving from, say, the UK and Ireland to the States.
Yeah.
And that kind of, I suppose a big thing for people is visas. You were very lucky with your visa.
Yeah, well, I was a golden ticket winning the green card lottery, and it's something every actor should do. Outside of the acting world, people should do, to have that option, because it's a cheap option. I think all up, I paid about $1,000 Australian dollars at the time, to to get that 10-year visa, which is unrestricted, which allows you then to work in any industry, you know. So it's, and then after 5 years you can become a citizen once you keep your hands clean. So visas can be a bit of a challenge on the art front, I guess. If you're getting in, I think it's known as an O1 visa. You have to have built up a body of work here, and then you have to prove to the US government that you're an extraordinary talent, that you'll fit a market out there. And there's plenty of attorneys both sides of the water that'll kind of build a case for you, I guess, and help actors to get in. That's a tougher route to go because it's more expensive, obviously. And then I think it's a 3-year visa. You have to get that renewed, and so the green card is the golden lottery, and that's run twice a year. I think from October to the start of December, and it's a pure lottery, but. It's a pure lottery. I know plenty of Irish people that have won it, and a roommate of mine at the time was living in Australia with me from Ballantyre. He won one as well, So I think they're slanted a little bit towards the Irish, That's not a fact, but I know plenty that have won it.
People that have done it.
But where there's a will, there's a way. If you have to go in on an O1, you go in on an O1, and then I know plenty of Irish actors that then have got permanent residency after a couple of years out there, and then they'll get a green card, and then they'll become citizens in time, So there's ways in if you really want to.
That's great. That's good to know. I suppose, at least you can, give it a go and see what happens. Yeah. When you're over in the States, is there an Irish support system over there?
Yeah, there is actually. It's great. There's a big Irish community. Well, I'm in Los Angeles. It's probably a larger community in New York because it's closer, obviously. But there's a lot of theatre there. There is some TV, and then there's a lot of TV now down south in Florida, or not so much Florida, but Atlanta and Louisiana and whatever. But in LA, there's a small Irish community, but it's a tight Irish community. Everybody knows everybody, and you get introduced to it by going to an Irish play or a screening, or it's somebody's birthday, and you go along, and all of a sudden you meet 20, 30 Irish people. My way in there was, I didn't know a soul. I think I knew one person in LA when I moved out there, and then just, got the balls to go into an Irish pub to watch an Irish game on a Saturday morning, and saw a bunch of Irish lads there in the corner, and went over and introduced myself, and happened to be a football team called Celtic, Santa Monica Celtic, and met 20 lads straight away, and kind of opened up my community then. None of them were actors, none of them were in the industry, which was great. They were all, building contractors, sparkies, accountants, whatever, and it kind of opened my world then. And then you get introduced to more and more, so as more come out, so that is great. And then, they run the Irish Film Festival out there each year. There's screenings of any Irish films. So you can kind of track down. I think there's even a Facebook page, Irish in LA, with a couple of hundred Irish people on that. And, people reach out to people and ask questions. And it's a good way to pick up some work as well outside of the acting, if it's going to be some... Absolutely. I was going to say cash in hand, but no one works for cash in hand in America.
No. That's brilliant, I suppose, because a lot of people would be kind of a little bit afraid to give it a go. And then also it seems kind of airy-fairy. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Unless you're working in the industry, people are like, oh, this one, look at this, she's heading off to the States.
You do get a bit of that. Of course, you get a bit of the Irish begrudgery as well when people are heading over to America. It's kind of, but you got to get over that.
Yeah.
But it's what I'd recommend is work in a craft and build a bit of a resume and work here, do some theatre, because there's casting actors that love that. They love quality theatre actors because they know you can translate that to the screen, and save up plenty of money, and whatever you think you're going to need, save twice as much.
Okay.
And bring it over there. But if you can. Also, train and get some other kind of qualification or business that you can work on, outside of the acting that'll pay the bills, that'll keep your sanity. Because if it becomes about booking a gig to pay the rent, then the pressure comes in. Yeah. And casting directors and producers can pick up on that, desperation. And I've seen that. And I've seen people arrive with life savings, not get a job, wait for the phone to ring, and then run out of money and come home. And they never really gave it a stab. You got to get over there, get in class, go out and meet casting directors, get involved in the scene. And when I say the scene, and I don't know if I'm allowed to curse on the air, but I'll use the word wanky. You don't want to get caught up in the wanky scene out there that you want to be seen at the Roosevelt Hotel or screenings or whatever. It's more just, get into the community and get a job and earn some money so you can kind of survive and then you can then shoot your own short films out there. You can shoot some, demo reels. If you don't do them here, of course, I say you provide that service, which is great.
We do, yeah.
Yeah, which people should do. They should arrive at a good demo reel, So if people are good at, say, doing web design or a little bit of bookkeeping or good at hairdressing, or I have a friend over there making $1,000 a day doing eyelash extensions.
Yeah.
Because remember, Yanks spend money, and there's a lot of money in Los Angeles. So I always say that, and whenever I go back to Australia, because I trained in Australia, and I talked to the actors back down there, and I said, look, you need another qualification, because you can come in, you can be the best actor in the world and the best looking person in the world. It doesn't guarantee you anything, So come out with another option, and then, if you're working full-time or part-time and then you book acting gigs, trust me, you'll appreciate them a hell of a lot more, And then in time, hopefully be able to give up that part-time job and act full-time. But you can't just go in. And another thing I'd say to people as well as actors, and it breaks my heart, and I see actors from Ireland, England, Australia come in for pilot season. And they arrive in January. They don't know anybody. They don't have an agent. They have a little bit of money. They're going sofa surfing, is that the term?
Yeah.
Couch surfing. But they're not going to get a gig because they don't have an agent and they don't have a visa, and casting directors are not going to take a punt on them. They might for a small role, but you got to build up the relationships. And I see it particularly with the Aussies coming in, and they'll sit in the bar 7 nights of the week hoping to be discovered, and it's nonsense, like,
Yeah.
So
if an actor was going to go over, I suppose, everything kind of kicks off January, is what you said, yeah?
Well, January for pilot season, but it's probably February when the gigs start coming out, like. But I wouldn't. January's probably a great time to come out because you're getting out of Ireland, out of the cold, and you're going out to nice weather out there, But any time of the year, like summer's great as well, but. Again, I'd say don't arrive with an expectation that within 3 months I'm going to book a gig, 6 months I'm going to be a series regular. I mean, I had that idea that I'd be a series regular after 3 years, and every actor does, whether they admit it or not. Where you say, well, I'm cutting it off and I'm going back home. But you actually have to decide that you're going out to live out there and build a life out there rather than I'm going out to book a gig, because it won't happen as quickly as it wanted to happen. Okay, there are instances, but you can't. That's like someone winning the lottery. That's not a plan. That's a wish.
That's
so, any time of the year to go out there but not just go out for pilot season, because that's just, it doesn't work that way. And pilot season now is almost all year round in America, in LA. They're making pilots 12 months of the year now. So there's always work, the way and no one explained this to me when I went out, but the way the calendar year works out is, if you start in January, they make a majority of the pilots kind of from mid-January to mid-March. And then say they make 100 of them, they might pick up about 30 or 40 of them might make it, and they come on the air in September. So they start shooting in July after the 4th of July weekend. So you'll have pilots in kind of Jan, February, March. The regular TV shows shoot from mid-January to mid-April. Then they shut down for the summer. They come back after 4th of July, kind of mid-July-ish. They shoot to about November. They're all shuts down again from mid-November because of Thanksgiving right through. So probably not a great time to arrive because not a lot is happening mid-November because the industry's shutting down. But then that's not a bad time either because you got to find an apartment. You got to get out there. You got to get a job. So it's never a bad time, but there's no great time to arrive that people are shelling out gigs to actors.
Yeah, you just decide and you just go.
Yeah, just go and do it. Just go and do it.
What is it like auditioning out there? Is it very different to what it's like when you're back home?
Well, here's the gas part. I've never auditioned for anything here.
Have you not?
I haven't worked in Ireland.
At all? So
it was Australia and then straight to America for me. So, I've got an agent back here, Neil Brooks Management. Neil's great, and I've put myself on tape for a few things and sent them back here recently. I've met a couple of casting directors at screenings back here and kind of one-to-ones as well, but I haven't had the pleasure of auditioning back here. So, in America, it's varied. Depends. Typically, it's a little tiny office. You're going in there, one reader, one person on camera. For the TV shows, You might have what's known as a pre-read, where you'll go in with the casting director and you'll read. I think in America, they encourage you to take your sides in with you, your script in with you, and hold it in your hand. I think in Ireland, that's not the case. You need to be off book.
They like you to be off book, but I think depending on the casting director, they don't mind. They would rather you not stumble and
have it in your hand, to have it close by or whatever. In America, they don't want you to stumble. So if you stumble, they're not going to throw you out a line read or whatever. You're going to have to just look at your sides, which is fine. But some instances you'll do a pre-read and then they'll call you back on TV shows for producers that afternoon. So that can be a little bit more intimidating because you're in that same little tiny room and it can be 10 or 15 people squashed around, and there's no real chit chat. It's you'll hit your mark and they'll start. You do it and you're out the door, But if you're lucky enough and you're auditioning regularly enough, it's you just kind of slipstream into it and nerves disappear, You'll have a little bit of nervous excitement or whatever. But it's, and then, it can be a little bit different for films. A lot of time for films, it's off tape where you'll just read with the casting director because it'll go off the producer somewhere else. And there's a lot of shows in America that air on American TV that are shot up in Canada now. So, like Once Upon a Time that I did a couple of weeks ago.
I love that series.
It was great. It was shot up in Vancouver and beautiful up there.
Gorgeous. Looks amazing.
Yeah, beautiful. And we shot all our stuff externally, kind of out in the mountains of Vancouver and down by the ocean, and absolutely stunning. But that was cast by producers based up in Canada. So you're going on tape and it's going up there. And from what I understand, there's like over 70 productions going on in Vancouver alone at the moment and in Toronto. So there's another message to actors here. If you can't get into America, if you have a way of getting into Canada, there's a heap of work up there. And someone could build a very nice resume based up there because there's a load of work because they're bringing the kind of guest star actors up there. But if you're starting off and you're getting the smaller co-star roles, you book the gigs, they'll turn into guest star gigs, which is better money and better roles and whatever. So, Vancouver, I'd live in a heartbeat. Stunning city. Toronto's cool as well, just too cold for me.
Yeah.
It's like Ireland.
It's like Ireland, exactly.
It's colder.
You got to work on some brilliant series. You've done New Girl, you've done Criminal Minds. Anything that stands out to you? What was your favourite?
Well, you never forget your first, do you? Well, actually, my first one over there was General Hospital, and they hired me and told me they were booking me for 15 episodes, and I thought it was on the pig's back, which every actor does. And then I arrived up on set, and they gave me a balaclava. And stuck a balaclava on me for the 15 episodes, so no one knew it was me.
That's terrible.
Yeah. Actually, they brought me back. I've played 3 different characters on that show. And that was cool, just to kind of cut my teeth, But Criminal Minds was the first one that I really enjoyed because it was plenty of airtime and working with great actors, and it's a big show around the world. It was seen here, it was seen by the family in Australia, it was in America, so that was pretty cool. But recently, Once Upon a Time, I really enjoyed because that was it was a nice character piece, and they go to great length on the wardrobe and the exteriors and the production value was huge on that show. Yeah. So, and just the crew up in Canada were just sensational to work with. Just brilliant people, And then Scorpion, I've been recording on Scorpion, and that's a big show as well. That's shot in LA and Manhattan Beach, which is really nice, and that's a great cast and crew as well. I did one episode there recently and had 18 scenes in it. They shot something like 82 scenes for a 1 hour show. It's just kind of fast paced, cut to the next scene, So that was pretty cool as well. And then from a film point of view, probably Transformers last year. I worked on that.
Yeah, I remember seeing it in that,
Michael
actually.
Bay.
Yeah.
My ugly mum was at the start of it.
They are right in the front. Do you know what I found really interesting actually about that? And I wanted to ask you. You got to keep your Irish accent, and so did Jack. So are you finding that people are asking for you to be more natural now, do your own accent, or is American accents?
It varies. You need to have an American down because a lot of shows will just be American. But what happens to us many of the times is you go in and you might introduce yourself in an audition. You should probably go in as an American. If it's an American role, go in and introduce yourself as an American and audition in American and walk out as an American. What's happened to me and other Irish actors is you walk in, you say, how are you? And they go, oh my God, keep it, we love it, and they change the character, particularly for a gangster role. Well, it's not really because you want some American footage,
Okay.
But over time, and then you get to know the casting directors, and a lot of the time they'll get a character description down from the producers, and they're looking for a gangster type or whatever it is, or a girl, and And it might be a bit ambiguous as to what nationality they are. So they'll bring in an Irish person, they'll bring in an English, a Welsh, an Aussie, and you're all up against each other, you know. But, you know, it's good to have the accents down. The King of Scotland was a Scottish one, you know. Okay. I've played Aussie roles, Eastern European. I've mates booking Irish lads booking Eastern European roles, you know, to have that down. So, you know, if you can crack the different accents, it really helps, you know. But the Irish... The Irish is, because particularly for me, most of the gangster type shows, because I've done Castle and Criminal Minds, Sons of Anarchy, and, you know, now Scorpion, as an Irishman, because the Americans perceive the Irish as being mad and dangerous, you know, and we are. You know,
they got that right.
Well, we can play it very well, you know, very intimidating, so it kind of helps. And there's not as many roles for the ladies, unfortunately, you know. There never is, and I'm sure it's the same here.
Carry on.
And it's, you know, typical shows, there might be, they're looking for 5 gangstery characters and then 1 love interest.
I know. Drives you bananas.
So for actresses, I think it's important that you have that American accent down, you know. And I see it with, you know, Caroline Moran is a good friend of mine. She played my wife in Once Upon a Time. There's nowhere near as many opportunities for her as there is for me out there, you know. But she's a master of accents, and she's starting to crack the gigs now with an American accent, you know. Okay. So that really helps, you know, to get away from just going out as an Irish person thinking that you'll book a ton of work as an Irish person.
You won't. You need your accents. Okay.
Yeah, and it's as an actor, you should be able to do it anyway, you know. So, and if not, just keep working out when you get out there. I think it gets easier when you're out there as well, you know, just kind of living in that environment, talking to Americans every day.
That's brilliant. Okay, Glenn, we're going to finish up very soon.
Sure.
But the last question I always ask everybody is, what has been the best piece of advice you've ever received from anybody?
Oh, acting wise.
Both in life and acting.
Well, in life, I think one of them was, you know, everything in moderation, and that's everything, you know. But in the acting side of it, you know, I guess you got to be in it for the long run. You know, it's a marathon or a marathon. Jeez, I'm talking like a Yank now.
No, look at that. Shop
you know, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So you can't, and that's speaking from experience as well, and being out there. If anyone had told me 9 years ago I was moving to LA, and it would take that amount of time to kind of get to where I am now, I probably would have said, well, you know, no, I'm not doing it. I'll do something else with my life. But like I said, it's important you build a life out there and kind of commit to, you know, and it might not be for everybody. You might give it a year or two, or go to the UK or Australia and find that it's not for you. Like, we train as actors, but then to do it professionally, you know, it's kind of a different ball game when you're making a kind of a living out of it, you know, or attempting to make a living out of it. So I'd say, you know, just it's been to just be in it for the long haul, you know, and just appreciate it and have an attitude of gratitude, you know, because what actors forget is, and I don't buy into the whinging that I hear, you know, all around the world, because we do this by choice, you know, it's a big privilege. Like, you book a decent gig, you're treated like royalty, you know, and to be able to play in a different world and create different characters and bring your own character to it, and then be yourself as a character, like, it's brilliant, you know. And it's there's nothing like it when you're shooting something that you're passionate about, you know, and you can always go back and take another job, and, you know, you can go back and train to be like, I'm an accountant. I could go back to accountancy if I wanted to, you know, but I never will. I don't think I will. But I appreciate everything that I do in the acting world, and it is tough. It's tough in every job, you know. It could be working in the local supermarket, which we've all done, and that's tough as well. So, you know, just kind of get on with it, because the payoff, if things go well, you know, is massive. You know, it is. It is. And the money's crazy, and the fame is crazy, and all that jazz.
So resilience is key, and perseverance.
You gotta keep working at the craft as well, and keep reminding yourself why you do it, because you love it and you're passionate about it, and take the knocks and roll with them, and roll up the sleeves and go on. But we're Irish, we've thick skin. We should be able to kind of roll with the punches, and, you know, some people don't, and they're in their own game, you know. But there's plenty of work out there around the world, and we're brilliant actors, and, you know, and grafters. You know, the Irish are grafters and have a good attitude, and And we fit in everywhere, and the Americans love us, because they all want to be Irish.
Of course they do.
So
thanks a million, Glenn. On that note, that's brilliant. Thank you so much for coming in and have a chat with us.
I hope you have me again.
Listen, of course we will, definitely. Thanks a million. Cheers.
Thank you very much. Cheers.